So I've got some InDesign tips and tricks for you here that I used in the aspects congruence sheet setup that I want to show you. It's some of my favorite techniques in InDesign that will save you some time and help you get a really professional look. So jumping into InDesign here, I've got a document, 13 by 19 print, but I'm going to show you basically some of the setup on how to do what I showed. So first off, I'm going to use shapes and just using a rectangle here and draw one of these rectangles. And then I'm going to fill it with color. So I've got the fill versus the stroke. So I'm choosing the fill and I'm just going to fill this with a cyan, which is fine. Then I'm going to option drag. There we go. Option drag and hold down shift. So it constrains that drag and drags it over to the right side. And now I'm going to set this one as a fill color of yellow. So I've got a fill color of yellow and I've got a fill color of blue. So this is where I can use opacity to be able to get this kind of overlapping effect. So I'm going to go to the window, and then I have to admit, I don't bring this up very often. Okay, here's opacity. I've got it up in my toolbar right here. So I can set these at 50% and you'll see I've got that nice overlap that it does the color for me. I'd maybe set it at like 80%. There we go. So I can see that overlap and the color is made for me because it's actually using a different opacity, 80%. Each of these items are 80%. So that way I've got two blocks that the center block makes the color for me instead of me having to render out that unique color. So now that I've got that set, I can move on to these objects. So here's where we're going to get really tricky. So we're going to use some object styles to create an object or create a box in InDesign that will auto resize itself. And once we create a style like this, then we can use it over and over and over again. It's pretty cool. So back here in InDesign, I am going to create a box and I want a text box in this case. So I grab the text tool and I'm going to draw a box like this and I can just put a word in it, which is fine. So I've written a word inside this box. I'm going to go to Object Styles and do a new object style. Now that I got a new object style, let's see, this is hover box is what I'll call it. And I save it. So this box does not have a style applied to it yet, but you'll see in object styles, in the object styles palette, which is under window, styles, object styles, I've got the option hover box and I click on it and it doesn't do anything because I've not applied a style to it yet. Or I've not like given this style, kind of like in Microsoft Word, like what it's supposed to look like. So if I double click on that again, and if I can do preview, it's actually going to show it on the fly. So now that I'm controlling that box with this style. So first I can go to text frame auto size options, and I can turn my auto sizing to height and width. And you'll see that box is going to shrink around the words. Now I don't want it to shrink around both words or to scrunch it. So I want no line breaks. That means if I have a 2-word whatever that's in the content, it will still stay around those 2 words. So see how it's snapped to that area. So now I'm going to go to general options and I want to put some space around those words. I want to bust out the box to leave some room. This is where I will use inset spacing. And I don't know, I'm going to do this as 0.125, 1/8 of an inch. So when I do an inset spacing of 1/8 of an inch on this object style called hoverbox that is applied to this text, it just gave me 1/8 of an inch of padding if you do web design, or just space on the inside or inset space. So now I want to do a fill color on this one. I'm going to make my fill color paper, which in this case is white. So I'm going to click on that one. InDesign is a page layout software, so you can actually set the page color to be like a subdued cream or whatever your paper color is. In this case, again, I want white. So now I've got a box. I'm going to do OK. I've got a box that has a word in it that I've applied object style called hover box to that box. If I want to change its type, like what typeface it is, I can do a paragraph style, which controls the text inside. I'm going to make my paragraph style sans serif, and I'll just pick, I don't know, verb is what I've got open, and I will do OK. So notice I created a paragraph style, which is also under Window, Styles, Paragraph Styles, and I called it sans serif. Now if I click on sans serif, it will apply it to that box. So now the text inside the box is called sans serif, and the object style is called hover box. So when I apply it to my work right here, I can drag it on top, and now it will stay the same. And I can duplicate it or whatever. I can use it over and over again, and now it's got that space in between. So if I create a brand new box, see, it's got all that stuff in it, and it's my base text, my base typeface. Oops, missed there. My base typeface right there. If I click on sans serif, it applies my sans serif typeface. Then if I click on hover box, it makes my box and wraps it, puts a white background on it, does all the styling. So now I can just reuse that. So for these congruence sheets, then you can easily make these little boxes that you can float around, and then you can put in different spaces, and you know that they will always have that space around them and look nice and tidy. If I press the W key, I get preview mode, where I really can see what kind of print mode. It takes away all those lines and stuff that go around my diagram or my setup there. So that is a way where you can set these using opacity, where you set color for these boxes, where you can get that kind of overlap. And then all you have to do is slide them. If you want them to go a little further over, then you can always set those up with more or less of a percentage. Okay, so I hope that gives you some insights on how to use object styles, paragraph styles, some opacity in InDesign to create some really quick and easy ways to diagram some of these visualizations.